are trying to do, we are trying to find out the slope values, right? So you know, to calculate slope, first you look at the what sign, whether it's positively sloped or negatively sloped, right? So what do you know? We had a lot of practice on that. So how do you define that? The easiest way to say what? That is, you see if the values of x's change, how the y goes. And so once the value of x is there, the amount of y is this. And once by the red one, it goes to this, the y, what is happening? X changes in x increases, and then changes in y is also increases. So that's a positive one, right? So since both the line is in the same nature, they will give you the same thing. So what we should say? Positive, right? Yeah, positive. Then you try to calculate the changes in y. Let's take 2 points. They are marked 1. So you don't, life is good. So up to this, how much? You calculate this change, you can count or you can find out changes is 6 and this is 2. So how do you get that? The difference, final value and the initial value, right? So how much you get? That's 4, right? So you say this value is 4. That's in mathematically what we say by those x, y, z's. That's we get changes in y, right? And then we have to do what? This guy, right? That's what you call changes in x. So you have here is 2, right? We don't ignore positive negative just to get out of this confusion. We discovered that way that once value x increases, y increases, that's positive, right? And what happens? Y increases, x increases, and y decreases, we get the opposite, right? Negative. It's just to brush up, refresh your memory. So what is the change? That is, here is 2 and that's our origin, right? So that's 2 minus 0, that's 2, right? So you get 2. So forward 2, we get a nice number, right? Positive 2. Okay, so that's what is slope for A. And what do we recognize? You guys are smart to get mathematics. What's that? The symbol we use is M, right? Okay, so now you're good to go with B, right? So let me erase that so that it looks good. So what is it? We have nice points. Okay, so we get this guy. That's your y. So how much? 2. Okay, another 2. So you get for B, right? That's what I'm using. Okay, so what does this represent? The slope, right? Okay, so obviously it's going to be positive. Okay, because same kind of inclination. So you guys know that, right? Okay, so what's that? That is 2 to 4, right? So we put 4 over here. And then we go for x, right? So how much? This is 0, 2. So 2 minus 0. That's our changes in x. Always good to think mathematically, right? You guys are smart. Okay. So how much? Positive 2. So what do you see? This guy and this guy is positive 2, positive. So same, right? You can say A equals MB. So what can you conclude? You can say lines, parallel lines have parallel lines has same slope value, right? So we can say in the opposite way, lines that have same slope value are parallel. Good? Great. Okay, so this kind of different line is there. So what we can think about that? Again, let's which one you want to start with first? A, since alphabetic order, we go in a alphabetic order, disciplined way, right? Okay, we like to think organized way. So we say take 2 points. We want the nice values, right? So let's this value. This is like again like this guy, right? So we don't have to think much, right? That should give us a positive one. So for this one, let me erase those so that it looks nice. So you have a positive value, right? Positive slope. So again, changing in your y is 6, up to this is 2, right? So this gap is 6 minus 2 is 4, right? So you have a 4 over here. And then what do you want to think? You want to think about this guy, right? So that's our x, right? So we say that's 2 and the 0. The length is 2, right? Difference. So we get this guy is 2, right? Positive 2. And now what kind of slope this guy will have? Since this is this is towards this, right? So should be opposite. But what is the sense? Why do you say that? What happens with this? Let's see again about that xy test, right? So when your x is here, your y is here, right? And once your x is increasing, y is increasing, right? So will it be positive? What do you think? This is the opposite way, right? So you guys are getting confused, right? So let's think from this. This is the y value once x is here. So x is increasing towards right? So y is decreasing. From here, this is increasing, and once is this is y, this x, so this should be negative, right? So we say this guy is mb, so we say that's negative, right? So let's say what's the value? Let's take any 2 points, nice values. So changes in y is 2, this 4, this guy is 0, so that is 4 minus 0, that's 4, right? So we say that's 4, and the excess is up to this, right? So how much? Here is 8. We don't consider negative positive. For that we had this, so how much? 2 to 4 to 6 to 8, right? So we say 8. So how much you get? Negative 2. What do we have? What kind of this are? We say if 2 is this, then we can find it out. What is the kind of relationship between 2 and negative 1, 2? This positive. So this guy has a 1, right? So what happens? This guy goes there, and this guy goes there in this case. So what do we call? Flips, right? So what do we call? Reciprocal. And negative reciprocal, right? So what kind of line these are? You can see perpendicular, right? So at 90 degrees there, and we see negative, so we can conclude perpendicular lines have the values are negative reciprocal to each other, right? Or what kind of relationship you can find. Let's see what happens if we multiply this experiment, we multiply them. What do we get? This is positive 2, right? So that's positive 2, and this guy is negative half. So negative half, right? This guy cancels out. It's negative 1. So you can say the perpendicular line, the product of the slopes, the product of the slopes of perpendicular, right? Of perpendicular lines are product. So we say is, right? Is negative 1. That's it. So based on that, we'll move to our next lesson, right? Okay, so I hope we got it, and once we're in the classroom, we'll see how it can make sense to them. Okay, good. Thank you very much.